If you guys follow me on any other social media platform, you probably remember this video from back in June when I opened this 3-phase panel in this commercial warehouse and was mind blown. Well, today we're changing it. Today we're replacing this panel. Oh my god, this panel is significantly larger. Oh, fuck. Okay, this is gonna be interesting. This is going to be very interesting, so I'm not gonna be able to. It's gotta go. I feel like I'm honestly gonna put this panel upside down, I think. Because if I put it upside down, then I can just put the wires coming straight in and then go up with the circuits. I think that's gonna be the move. All right, 30 off. First step is always to make sure I shut everything down, including the main breaker, so that way when I start taking stuff apart, it's not arcing or I'm not having any other issues where I'm working live. Off. Okay. Like, this is crazy. What is this? These aren't even, these were hooked up. These were hooked up. Oh my god. What a mess. Just time to start taking apart breakers. Panels like this are always a slow takeoff for me because I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this without making such a mess to the point where I'm stuck randomly in the middle through trying to figure out what I'm gonna do next. In the clip right before, you saw me sizing up the panel and I said something about going upside down. I think starting upside down on this panel was the best bet, and it's not recommended for every single panel. I really don't like to do this, but my service feeders weren't long enough to come into the top because the new panels are significantly longer than the older panels. So the best course of action, so that way I didn't have to bug these main service feeders or run new service feeders inside the panel, was to start from the bottom up. So once I figured all that out, I started by removing every single circuit off of the breaker. This panel had no panel schedule, so what I did was I actually labeled the breaker sizes instead of labeling what they were. Later down the road, when I actually start turning on circuits, I'll start labeling, but for now, we're gonna have to start like this. I sped this section up because it's the most time-consuming part, is separating and detangling all of this rat's mess of a panel. That's crazy. Let's see if it breaks. Ready? So I found poorly taped wire, and there was like 75% of the copper removed from the other side because it broke, I guess. And instead of splicing it, somebody just decided to tape it. I don't know how that goes, but that's ridiculous. And so yeah, I continued to untangle the mess and separate the circuits and label, so that way I knew exactly what was going on, because sometimes these older wires have thicker insulation. I don't know if anybody else has run into that, but it's hard sometimes to gauge the wire size. And then once all of this was separated, I had to remove all the neutrals and the grounds. Since there is a disconnect, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to remove a main breaker and put in a main lug panel. And when we do this, we're also going to separate the grounds and neutrals because this is not the first means of disconnect, so they need to be separated moving forward. I put up a before and after sneak preview of this on my Instagram and asked how long people thought it took me, and some people said 8 hours. Y'all are fucking ridiculous for that. It took me 3 hours, and this was sweating. It's usually so cold in here, and of course today I'm on fire. Oh my god, these fucking lugs were not even tight. That. You guys may hear random clips of me talking in my earbuds. Mind your business. I'm on the phone. Oh boy. And he told me that he was gonna I'm working, but I had to do all this bullshit beforehand. I had to go get material. All right, so as you can see, I am really struggling. Whoever put the damn connector on this service cable, you know, I just want to punch you in the face right now because you literally undersized the connectors so aggressively that the wire barely even fit under it. Do you know what a struggle it was to get those wires off, especially without nicking the wire? And now you'll get to watch me struggle to get this panel off the wall because there's EMT coming from the top, bottom, and right side. Why? It's very frustrating. I'm going to show you how I cut out the knockouts for these properly. Alright, so I made the center. Center here is here. And then take my marker and I draw circles. 1, 2. Oh, I did a bad job. Okay, I need a unibit. So my camera died at the rest of the explanation, so I'm just gonna walk you through it right now. So basically, after you draw the circles on the cardboard, you're gonna find the center by drawing a horizontal and vertical line in the center, and then you're gonna take the measurement from the edge of the panel to that center, and you're gonna take a measurement from the back of the panel to that center, so that way you can draw that measurement on the new panel. 90% of the time, you're not gonna be in the new knockout holes that the panel has provided you, so you're gonna have to take a unibit and start pre-drilling and then take a punch set or a knockout kit and knock out to the size that you need, because even here in the center, it was too close to the other parts of the knockout that I had to use a unibit to pre-drill and make my own hole. It is a pain in the butt, and sometimes you are going to move around other parts of the knockouts depending on how big of a size they allow. But if you use a punch set, you actually can straighten out before you knock out too many holes. And since my unibit is absolutely shot, it didn't go all the way through, so I'll have to start with the 1/2 inch attachment for the knockout and then knock out 1/2 inch and then use the 1/2 inch knockout to use the 3/4 knockout. I go through unibits a lot, so if anybody has a really good unibit brand, please send it my way, because I haven't been able to find a unibit that I can use for an extended period of time. And since I don't go buy one every single week, I end up doing this dumbass shit with the knockout. And okay, so I had 3 pieces of EMT coming out of the top, 1 coming out of the top right-hand corner, and I had about 5, including the service cable, coming out of the bottom. So the reason I didn't knock out on the bottom yet is because I actually have a lot of wiggle room with the bottom pipes. Once I removed them out of the panel, they actually dropped about 3 inches down. So my plan is to get these 3 in. I'm actually going to end up cutting 2 of the pipes that are at the bottom because they're not even in use, and that goes into a completely different area, not even in this building, so it's not like I can use them later. This has got to be the hardest part, getting all of these wires that are all different lengths up into the panel. And of course, my dumbass completely forgot to knock out this top right knockout. So I'm doing it while I'm holding the bottom of the panel up with my legs. Hopefully not to drop these wires that I already worked really hard to get inside of the panel. All right, so after I got them up, I actually used the pipe on the right-hand side to grab and hold the panel up while I grabbed a ladder and I pushed it under so that way I could get all the lock nuts up and on for all of these. Once I got the lock nuts on, the panel stayed in place and then I could level it and make sure it was good moving forward from there. And this is just me tightening the lock nuts so that way I can get the panel fully up on the threads. Holy shit. All right, so after I struggled, I put the last lock nut on, and then next thing to do is start separating the wires. So these main service feeders, I did initially want to change, but the customer didn't want to pay for that. They had like a strict budget, and as long as the wires looked in decent condition, I told them that I would keep them, and they looked pretty good, especially when I stripped the wire back. So I was able to remove a lot of the old wire and make all new fresh connections, so that helped a lot. So the reason the customer wasn't going to replace them is because the run was over 70 feet long and was into a completely different
Yeah, Mason's going to have fun. He's been really rough with me at school.
So this was the alternative, cut it back,
yeah, he's like
make fresh new connections.
Doing the whole thing over again now. He was good the first 2 days of preschool and then
up with the middle knockout hole, but I was pretty persistent in getting it there. After I got the service wires in, next thing to do was to trim down the pipes that I was going to keep. There was a piece of 1/2 inch and a piece of 3/4 that were doing absolutely nothing, and I didn't feel like doing the individual knockouts for these because none of these were lining up with the knockouts that were pre-made in the panel. So I basically cut the 2 pipes down, and then I trimmed the ones that I was keeping. 2 of them were 50 amp circuits, and 1 of them was a 20. I do each panel differently based off of the situation, but it was important to actually get the lower branch circuits in first and then go to the top. And I also didn't separate top from bottom in the panel and made them all pushed together because I just feel like it looks a lot cleaner when they're all in the same range of each other instead of separating top and bottom. And so I actually was able to have enough slack for most of the wires to get all the way down there. I did have to make 1 splice in total, but I feel like that's not bad. But that doesn't include the splice that I had to make for the broken wire that I found initially. So basically 2 splices. Next thing to do when I'm roughing in the panel is to start with all of the neutral and grounds. So I separate them on each side, but we have to put neutrals on a different side than grounds, and we had to unbond them. So now I'm moving all of the neutrals into the neutral bar on the left hand side. And there weren't many grounds because the EMT is grounded, and that's what they use as the grounding mechanism for a lot of the circuits. So we don't have a lot of grounds here, but we have all of our neutrals on our left hand side. These ones I did separate from top to bottom because I didn't really want to slice the neutral wires. I just felt like it was cleaner to not do that. And so after that, I zip tied them to make sure that they would stay in the corner of the panel and not get all over the place. And then after that, I started adding my breakers and tying in my branch circuits to the designated breaker.
Okay, so 20, 20, 20, 20.
And like I stated before, I don't have a panel schedule for this, so I'm not really putting the wires in any particular order. I'm basically doing them by length, so that way I can minimize the amount of splices that I have to do.
Oh, so I don't know how long I haven't been recording for, because I've just gotten so invested in this panel that I haven't really been looking. But damn, I thought I was recording the whole time. Guess not. This number 6 wire is mad old, very hard to mess with. Like, it's not even, come on. Is it too long? Maybe, yep, way too long. Oh no, nope, I got a piece here, fucking.
The last thing to do in this section is to cut back the main service feeder cables and land them under each individual lug.
Here we go. I'm not gonna turn that one on. think that one's a new one. Okay, the only issue is that I don't see the lights on. Oh. Well, there it is. She done. I want to go home now. It's another clean panel install.